Hello, good morning. My name is Joe Bowling. I serve as the director of the East Washington Street Partnership for Englewood CDC. It's a privilege to present for you that are here today or those that are just watching at home. It's a real privilege to show off some of our work and tell you a little bit more about what we're up to along East Washington Street. First and foremost, the East Washington Street Partnership is a collaborative effort begun just a few years ago between my organization, Englewood Community Development Corporation, as well as other nonprofits who have a real stake in East Washington Street's kind of health and vitality. And those are Southeast Neighborhood Development, or SEND, and Near East Area Renewal, and a host of other sort of Near East Side partners that also sort of help us along the way. We try to do that work to really bolster the economic environment along East Washington Street for a mix of uses, as you'll see as part of the presentation. That's one of the things that we love most about East Washington Street, is just that mix of uses that really makes it a great sort of has the makings of being restored to a vibrant mixed-use corridor. Here's an image of an early planning event that we did just last year. This was a Better Blocks event, Better Blocks East Washington Street. This was the first of its kind in Indianapolis, kind of a national phenomenon, really sort of a living charrette of what you'd like to see along a section of corridor. So here is us along East Washington Street, particularly in about the 3000 block at about North Rural Street, really working with neighbors to get a sense of what they'd like to see along the East Washington Street corridor. This was really informative for us as we began, as part of that Better Blocks event, planning for the Re-Energize East Washington Street Plan that really guides our activities today and will be the majority of what I'll show you within our plan. That green plan is our Re-Energize East Washington Street Plan. That's available as a download on our website, www.eastwashingtonstreet.org. So if you see this and you like it, you're certainly welcome to go to the website and see all of that green plan available in the download section. The diagram below is more of it shows really the section of East Washington Street that we have charge of, particularly from downtown Indianapolis on the west side out to Irvington on the east side of the district. Near downtown mixed-use area, really kind of anchored by the Angie's List campus, and we'll see more of those images as we go. Though there's a real preponderance of former industrial properties, particularly situated south of East Washington Street and along the still active CSX rail lines south of East Washington Street. Residential land uses predominantly to the north. This is New York Street. My offices are in the Englewood neighborhood, the Englewood PR Mallory node, and then various land uses east of there, particularly as the CSX lines go up to meet what was the old former RCA Thompson site, which is 80 acres and what once was over 1 million square foot of commercial industrial uses on that 80-acre campus. So real sort of industrial flavor along East Washington Street. The plan, as part of this plan, is to bring it back to really accentuate some of the old industrial uses, but also introduce a number of other mix of land uses, including commercial retail, multifamily, office, etc. Here are some character images that just show those mix of uses. Many of these buildings and images you're probably familiar with as you maybe commute along East Washington Street. Certainly the PR Mallory kind of campus up here in the corner. Here is the Angie's List campus on the west end of the corridor, East Washington Branch Library. Everyone's favorite place, particularly at St. Patrick's Day, the Golden Ace Inn, and other properties like the Ivy Tech facility and the old Ford factory along East Washington Street as well. In our Re-Energize East Washington Street Plan that will guide our activities for the next 7 or so years, from 2013 to 2020, we've really tried to emphasize the future of East Washington Street as a transit corridor and the opportunities available with transit-oriented development. We feel like linking East Washington Street to the larger regional economy is a good idea, and certainly the transit plan developed here in central Indiana is one that's very important to us. What we've tried to do in concert with the transit planning has been to look at East Washington Street as 6 distinct kind of transit nodes, as you can see sort of arranged here. We would be the blue line as part of that transit plan, maybe the second to get developed in Indianapolis, knock on wood, and that would be bus rapid transit along East Washington Street as the blue line. Not only, though, did we do the planning with these transit stations in mind, we really tried to look at all 6 of them for their TOD potential. We utilized the 19 kind of specific metrics that the Department of Transportation also uses as they look at TOD potential, and we really sort of did a rating analysis of each of these stops and stations along East Washington Street based on those actual criteria that the Department of Transportation utilizes. Now we know sort of where we're strong, where we're weak, what we can do to improve not only the TOD potential along East Washington Street, but perhaps the City of Indianapolis application to the Department of Transportation as we look to receive transit funding for the City of Indianapolis. Again, here's one area where we're hoping that we can sort of deliver some value to the overall City of Indianapolis to be more competitive for those funds. Washington Street goals certainly involve infrastructure. If you've spent much time along East Washington Street, if you've spent any time along East Washington Street in this stretch as a pedestrian, you'll know that it's a less than dignified pedestrian experience, and that must get better for us to have the kind of success we'd like to see along East Washington Street. First and foremost, we do want to provide, in goal number 1, BRT lanes and car lanes to facilitate that kind of travel. But we really would like to have, to soften the experience with a median and trees, a proper street edge, giving a buffer from oncoming traffic, from the pedestrian, and lights and furnishings along East Washington Street too. We're excited that just in the next fall season, East Washington Street will receive about $1.2 million of infrastructure repairs to really kind of mill and resurface. But the mill and resurfacing that will happen, while important, is certainly not the full streetscape experience that we'd like to see along East Washington Street, particularly once we build out the blue line. So we'll continue to push for the kinds of streetscape improvements we'd like to see to really achieve what we'd like to be along East Washington Street. Here you can see a little bit of that in the slide here. We really do like the introduction of maybe a median along portions of East Washington Street, a landscaped median. The big high-tension power lines, particularly on the south side of East Washington Street, are a real challenge to kind of introducing other ornamental street trees. So utilizing that sort of center median, at least in a few areas, really gives us that opportunity to kind of make it cleaner and greener for the pedestrians as well as for kind of traffic users as well. We have a number of infrastructure challenges because our infrastructure was built out 100 years ago, particularly for industrial users situated along the south side of Washington Street up against that CSX rail line. It is very difficult with the size of modern trucks, as well as the types of deliveries and infrastructure they need with overhead doors and truck docks, etc., to have the right infrastructure. We're hopeful that with sort of big ideas like this industrial sort of truck boulevard parallel to the CSX line, again, that's a big idea, that's probably $1 million idea, but we really think it might fortify the ability to reutilize more of the industrial properties along the East Washington Street corridor and maybe get some of that heavier truck traffic along East Washington Street, which leads to sort of less than pleasing experiences for pedestrians and others. Obviously, trails and bicycle infrastructure is also improvement. Probably not room along East Washington Street for a bike lane necessarily, but we're really excited about some of the city's proposals to upgrade the New York and Michigan Street bike lanes, and we'll benefit from that work for sure. With the challenges that this section of East Washington Street faces, we certainly would not publish a plan for the next 7 years that says we can get it all done. We're not that naive. We don't think you're that naive. We really do think that we'll have the most success by concentrating our energies in a few particular nodes. That does not mean that we won't support and look to facilitate other development outside these catalyst nodes, and we're doing that right now outside these catalyst nodes. but we really do think that we need to be focused and look for where the best opportunities are in the near term. We feel like these 5 catalyst nodes are that opportunity, and I'll share a little bit more about each of those with you. No accident here that many of those 4 or so are clustered closer to downtown Indianapolis as sort of that market, the private market and development there continues to kind of creep eastward. We want to facilitate that. We want to help that along. The first of these 5 catalyst nodes that I'll tell you a little bit more about is one that we just call sort of near downtown housing. This is an image of the Holy Cross neighborhood that many of you are probably familiar with. As downtown Indianapolis, particularly in the Cole Noble District and Market East Cultural District, has continued to creep east, we're really seeing a kind of a resurgence in the Holy Cross neighborhood. And here are some images just to kind of lift up what's possible there. More dense housing product, but a product that fits at the scale of the Holy Cross neighborhood. Here's an image of the Highland Stacks. This is one of Pat Dubaw's developments with the redevelopment group. We really feel like this is the right scale of development for Holy Cross. This was very successful. I think Pat's proud of this work, and I think neighbors are proud of this work. I think this is a 5 or 6 unit condominium development on a very small lot. So we'd like to see more development like this. Particularly, we'd love to attract more employees of Angie's List or who work downtown as sort of Holy Cross residents in time. And this is the kind of development we'd love to see more of. The second catalyst node is the gateway. This is really the gateway along East Washington Street coming out of downtown Indianapolis or going into downtown Indianapolis, really separated from downtown Indianapolis by the rail lines as well as the interstate. Those are big physical and kind of economic barriers that we have to deal with. Very proud yesterday as part of Lilly Day of Service. There were 3 of those overhead interstate overpasses that were painted as part of Lilly Day of Service to really kind of facilitate greater interaction between the Near East Side, East Washington Street corridor, and downtown Indianapolis. More of that work needs to happen to better connect Near East Side to downtown Indianapolis. Here are some images to really kind of lift up the vision for Angie's List or whoever might develop in the gateway for more of what's possible. We're really excited bear with me. We're really excited by much of the work that Angie's List has done in this Gateway Catalyst node already. Here are a few images. You can see they've been very context sensitive. We have a lot of former industrial properties in this section of East Washington Street. They've really kind of used that as an asset with non-traditional office spaces from an industrial loft building as sort of a corporate office, new brewery, Indiana City Brewing Company, and a couple other buildings there that now really serve as very functional, non-traditional offices that fit the character of the neighborhood historically and really fit the Angie's List culture. Really appreciative to the continued work that they do in this Catalyst node in particular. And here is the third of the 5 catalyst nodes. This is the intersection of Washington and Oriental. The real sort of key here are to take larger anchor institutions and build off of those in sort of a big way. As you'll see on the next slide, this is home to IPS's warehouse facility, which was once the Ford factory along East Washington Street. That 150,000 square foot building is a real development possibility, and I think the IPS folks have gotten more and more comfortable of seeing it as a potential development opportunity should they find another suitable replacement space for the important work that happens with IPS already in that building. It's also next door to Ivy Tech's Automotive Technology Center. That kind of post-secondary education is important for many of our neighbors. We'd love to see them, Ivy Tech, remain at least in some capacity in this building and perhaps even have a larger footprint at this location as well. Here you can see a couple of those buildings. There is the large Ford factory building, the current Ivy Tech warehouse, the Ivy Tech automotive facility next to it. This node is also home to Horner Electric and their kind of main building, which, as you can see from the images here, is currently undergoing an expansion. I took those images just a couple days ago, and it's exciting to see Horner's commitment to the neighborhood and their ability to kind of grow as an anchor business for this section of East Washington Street. The fourth of these 5 catalyst nodes is the Willard Park catalyst node. Willard Park is the largest public green space along this section of East Washington Street. It really has had a hard time becoming a true community park in that it is disconnected from adjacent neighborhoods in 3 of the 4 kind of directions. It's located to industrial to the east, the CSX rail lines to the south, and other commercial businesses to the west. And so, and you have Willard Park neighborhood to the north, but again, the crossing along East Washington Street has been difficult. We'd love to see this park become more of a destination park, offering something unique that you might not get in other portions of Indianapolis. It certainly needs to serve Willard Park neighborhood and some of the surrounding neighborhoods, but the activity there probably needs to be broader than just what can than what can be sort of used by kind of directly adjacent neighborhoods. And so here are some images of Willard Park for maybe cyclocross that might just sort of be evocative of kind of a destination park. We're not exactly sure what shape that might take, but grappling for sort of solutions to really activate this park. I should mention that Riley Area Development and others have really taken some leadership in Willard Park neighborhood, and we're excited about the work that they're doing to help revitalize that neighborhood with that neighborhood association, and want to support that as best we can as well. The fifth and final of the catalyst nodes I'll spend a little bit more time on. This is sort of the PR Mallory and Inglewood catalyst node. I'll spend more time on this one because frankly we've been up to the redevelopment of this area a little bit longer and just have a greater hand in this work. My offices are located right within this catalyst node, and this is just an important place in the city of Indianapolis historically. As you can see, here's an image of this portion of the city of Indianapolis back in 1902. This is an actual postcard of what was called East Washington Park. This was home to the Indianapolis Indians baseball team, which is just an amazing thing to think that you could have had a professional baseball on that section of East Washington Street. What might seem more incredible is this next image of the same section. Once it fell out of use as a baseball park, it was redeveloped as Wonderland Amusement Park for 5 years, from 1906 to 1911. That is the Shoot the Chutes water ride at Wonderland Amusement Park. It's just amazing to think there was an amusement park along this section of East Washington Street. This was kind of the second great iteration in this portion of Indianapolis history. Lots of mystery around what happened with Wonderland Amusement Park and why it mysteriously burned to the ground in 1911. There are 3 main theories, and maybe I'll share that with you after the presentation. Pretty cool old history stuff. After Wonderland Amusement Park's demise, this campus was built as a General Electric headquarters and then sold to PR Mallory as part of the PR Mallory and Crown Laundry kind of campus. Over 10 acres of land here, a campus of buildings. This is that campus sort of in its heyday when it employed about 2,000 or so residents of the Near East Side and Southeast Side right here on this campus. We'd love to see this campus restored, at least to some extent, to its sort of former glory when it employed so many folks. And we think that sort of next great sort of iteration in the Mallory history will take shape around sort of our own Make It Mallory plan development. We really do, we've tried to look at this catalyst node as a real sort of multi-use, kind of dimensional development, a plan for every parcel, live, work, play, and learn, as you can kind of see color-coded there. 6 different developments here of over $1 million each, totaling about $30 million. Some planned, some ongoing, under development now. That includes a couple of the slides that I'll show you ongoing. I should say this is one of LISC's industrial reuse corridors, one of 3 that they will soon name, and this is the Near East Side's nomination as part of the Great Places 2020 development or initiative that you'll probably hear more about within the coming months here in Indianapolis. The Live section of this sort of catalyst development has a number of different offerings. The one that we're most excited to kind of announce here very soon is the Oxford Place Senior Apartments. This is a 3-phase development. Phase 1 is fully funded and will begin construction in spring of next year. Phase 2 is just proposed, and we've submitted that package now to the city of Indianapolis. Phase 1, though, is really unique in that we hope to achieve a building that's net energy positive. There are only about 32 of these buildings across the country. We hope that this can become one of, if not the greenest buildings in the state of Indiana, where more energy is produced on site than is actually used by the 30 senior residents who would live in this facility. We hope to achieve that through a geothermal heating and cooling system, a huge 120 kilowatt solar array, 480 solar panels on the roof, LED lighting throughout, transpired solar collectors built into the facade of the building, and many, many other features designed to make this a very low energy, if no energy development that serves low-income seniors well and eliminates the need of a utility payment by those senior residents. We're not quite sure that we can do the same net energy positive development as part of Phase 2, but it will be very green, very energy efficient, and in sync with what we've proposed for Phase 1. Many other kind of live opportunities within this district, but that's kind of a big highlight for us right now. Lots of opportunities for work with that PR Mallory site for sure, which is a 120,000 square foot building, as well as other small kind of commercial retail sites around that building. As you can see, LISC has been very generous with their business facade program. We have 6 fully funded facade improvement projects outside of just sort of the main PR Mallory building. I should mention, too, that main PR Mallory building on the top graphic will receive about a $500,000 new roof to stabilize that historic structure as we continue to work through redevelopment possibilities for that important campus. On the play side, an important part of having a healthy, vibrant community. Here on the top, you can see the world's only rooftop hockey rink at the Commonwealth Apartments at 23 North Rural Street. These are kids playing as part of a youth hockey club that we've operated for a while. We also have a Wednesday night men's league. We still have 1 team space available for an upcoming men's league, but very excited about kind of really unique play opportunities like that hockey rink, which we also use for soccer and some other things, and sort of the nature play space area connected with Daystar Childcare and Inglewood Church. Really dynamic places for neighbors to be together and play together. And finally, on the Learn side, we're so excited that the Indianapolis Public Library has made a commitment for an up to $2 million renovation and expansion of the East Washington Branch Public Library. This is a branch that really needs those improvements and needs that additional footprint to serve lots of folks that use that library daily. We're excited this will kind of double the footprint of that building and really kind of keep in sync with that historic Carnegie Library facade that many of us love so much. On the top image is the expansion of Daystar Childcare as part of Inglewood Christian Church. That is Governor Pence at Daystar just a few months ago announcing his pre-K voucher program across the state. Daystar is one of 3 recipients in Marion County to receive an allocation of those funds to make pre-kindergarten education available. Our expansion at Daystar is a $650,000 project and will allow us to now serve 200 children from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with high-quality early childhood education. And we're just so excited for what that will afford to our neighborhood and to those children within that program. That's the end of my presentation. Again, we're excited about the future of East Washington Street. We're glad for the opportunity to present here. A lot of the important work that's happening here right now as part of Plan 2020 and other initiatives are ones that are very important to us, and we know that the future of East Washington Street will only be brighter if we're in sync with more of those larger citywide and regional planning efforts. And again, just your time, expertise, and attention and your knowledge of our plan will certainly help us go further and faster. And so I thank you.